Alongside Jesse Simonton, I'm Austin Price as the Volquest.com positional previews roll on. Offensive line today, Jesse. Jeremy Pruitt arrived here, almost a year and a half ago and said, "Where's the beef?" I think Tennessee's finally got some beef up front. Trey Smith looks like he's going to be on par to be a part of this group in 2019. Obviously, they've added Wanye Morris and Darnell Wright, some nice young talent, and then they've got players coming along, in the offensive trenches, whether it be Brandon Kennedy, Kayron Calvert, or Jerome Carvin.
Yeah, but even guys like Niehaus and Tatum have gotten over 300 pounds. I think I looked it up a year ago. Last year, Tennessee had 8 guys that weighed over 300 pounds on the offensive line. They now have a dozen. So that certainly speaks to the added size there. This unit, to me, is all about upside. There's a ton of question marks, whether it's Trey Smith's availability.
The ceiling is high.
Will these bookend tackles be ready to play on day one? But the upside of this group is so much higher than a year ago. We know what Darnell Wright is physically. Can he handle the mental aspect? Wanye Morris obviously was here early, got to participate in spring ball. Brandon Kennedy, there was a lot of flair about him a year ago. Had a tough first game and then immediately blows out his knee, at 2 days after the week 1 practice. So I like the upside of this group. Kayron Calvert, I think he's as tantalizing really as any offensive lineman on this team. The question is, can they find a cohesive 5? Can guys stay healthy? Will the freshmen be ready? A lot of folks are just assuming that those 2 guys are going to be starting on day 1 or that they're going to be ready to be, dudes on day 1. What happens if that's not the case?
A lot of questions, but to me, if you hit on all the questions, then Tennessee's offensive line is far deeper than a year ago. But to me, because of all the questions, it means you don't have to hit on everything. Like, are the freshmen ready? Maybe they're not, and they have to lean on Jameer Johnson early on. What's the availability of some of these other players that have kind of been battling back from injury? I think they're deep enough where they can survive an injury. It just can't be to the right player. Like, if Trey Smith starts the year but can't finish the year, to me that's a blow. But if he's able to give you a full season, I think Tennessee's offensive line around him can be really, really good because they're deep. They have more bodies than they had a year ago, more quality bodies.
I'd say more quality bodies. I still think Tennessee might be in trouble at tackle. I don't know how much that, do you really want to run out, the Tatums and such at tackle? Those are nice deep reserve options if you have to,
That's my point, is if it has to get to that point, those are guys that have at least played football.
Yeah,
it's not like rolling out Joe Keeler, and I like Joe, he's a great kid. But rolling out Joe Keeler against LSU a few years ago. Those days, it seems to have passed Tennessee. Now, if they're going to a third body, it's somebody that's played and is a comparable talent.
They have. The numbers are still lower than Jeremy Pruitt and Wilfred Blunt. They lost 5 guys in the last year to medical retirements. And so I do think, we'll see what kind of happens with this group. This is a unit that was, they gave up 96 tackles for loss a year ago, easily worst in the SEC. Tennessee only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, last in the SEC. Quarterback Jarrett Garantano got knocked out of, 3 games a year ago. So if the O-line cannot protect or cannot run block better, it's that and the defensive line are going to determine how good this team is. If you keep Jarrett upright, I think Tennessee feels pretty good about their playmakers around him. But if he's getting beat to hell, Tennessee's going to be in trouble once again. And so, there's a lot. I like the ceiling of this group, and I think at worst they can be serviceable. But, there's a lot of questions they're going to have to answer early and immediately in week 2 against BYU.
If the freshmen answer the call, if Trey Smith answers the call, you probably like where you're at with Brandon Kennedy as your starting center. And then there's that other guard spot that you've got Kayron, you've got Jerome Carvin, Jameer Johnson.
Ryan Johnson.
To me, there's a lot more positives to this group than a year ago. There are some big questions, but there are at least some positives depth-wise and quality body-wise heading into the 2019 season. Talking offensive line, he's Jesse Simonton. I'm Austin Price as the Volquest.com positional previews roll on.